It's Thursday, September 24th. I'm Lucy Steiner.
And I'm Sam Cedar. Which of these stories will you be talking about today?
Protests continue after a Kentucky grand jury reached a decision on whether to charge police in the killing of Breonna Taylor. Critics call it a victory for police impunity. Meanwhile, indigenous protesters in Arizona get roughed up by federal authorities after shutting down construction on Donald Trump's border wall. They say work crews are damaging a sacred freshwater spring in the area. And lastly, teachers union leaders say the science worked in school districts that implemented social distancing and mask requirements. Preliminary data suggests coronavirus is not spreading like wildfire in schools that took precautions.
You are listening to Majority FM's AM Quickie, and these are the stories you need to know.
There is still no justice for Breonna Taylor. A grand jury in Jefferson County, Kentucky yesterday indicted one of 3 Louisville police officers involved in the fatal shooting of the 26-year-old on March 13th. Former Detective Brett Hankinson was indicted on 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment, per the Louisville Courier-Journal. Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly was not indicted, nor was Detective Miles Cosgrove. The charge against Hankinson does not stem from killing Taylor, but for shooting into other apartments in the neighborhood. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron said officers Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their actions. They also fired their weapons at Taylor's apartment that night, for a total of 32 shots. It remains unclear whether the officers fired the 6 shots that killed Taylor. Attorneys for Taylor's family called the charging decision outrageous and offensive. Others joined that chorus. Democratic vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris said she hadn't yet read the decision, but, quote, Taylor and her family deserve justice yesterday, today, and tomorrow, unquote. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders called the result a disgrace and an abdication of justice, adding, quote, our criminal justice system is racist. The time for fundamental change is now, unquote. Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar called the charges an absolute disgrace. And the American Civil Liberties Union of Kentucky said, quote, once again, the state has denied that Black Lives Matter by failing to hold law enforcement accountable, unquote. Protests that have been ongoing in Louisville picked up again after yesterday's announcement, despite a preemptive declaration of emergency by the mayor. Online videos showed white men carrying guns and wearing military-style uniforms patrolling the streets. The vigilantes moved apparently unimpeded by police. The National Guard was also deployed. Many businesses and government offices were boarded up, and a 25-block perimeter of the city was closed by traffic. Before night fell, police deployed a chemical agent into a crowd of protesters and made several arrests. Black Lives Matter solidarity marches also took place in a number of other cities last night, including Chicago, which also saw armored National Guard vehicles take to the streets. For 5 hours on Monday, indigenous protesters halted construction of Trump's wall on the Arizona-Mexico border. The protest ended with federal authorities inflicting violence on the peaceful protesters. According to the Arizona Republic and Arizona Public Media, the protest began in the morning against a stretch of fencing on the Quito Baquito region of the Oregon Pipe National Forest in southwestern Arizona. It is an area with a spring that the Owedam people consider sacred. After a blessing and a prayer, organizers from the Owedam Anti-Border Collective led a group of about 25 protesters to the construction site at the border. The concrete for the barrier installation uses nearby groundwater for the sacred spring. As one speaker said, quote, that water aquifer that you're draining helped us survive. It helped every traveler that came through survive. That water didn't discriminate, unquote. The temperature was 106 degrees by the afternoon when National Park Service officers arrived and warned the group to move. Some began to sing Owedam prayer songs as sage was burnt. At 2 p.m., a caravan of 25 Border Patrol agents arrived. Some carried paintball guns, others AR-15s. Within the hour, the Border Patrol agents and 2 park rangers rushed the protesters, knocking people to the ground. No arrests were made, but protesters were left with scrapes and bruises as they were dragged away. One told agents, quote, you don't control the border. You terrorize everyone here from Texas to California and everywhere in between, unquote. Amen.
Hey, Majority.fm's AM Quickie is fueled by JustCoffee.coop. Just Coffee is a worker-owned coffee roaster based in Madison, Wisconsin that has sponsored the Majority Report for nearly a decade. Check out their collection of fair trade roasts, including our own Majority Report blend. And regardless of what you order, receive 10% off of your order when you use the code MAJORITY at checkout. All shipping, of course, is free. That's coupon code MAJORITY at justcoffee.coop.
There's some encouraging news about the coronavirus pandemic, at least as it relates to America's K-12 students. The Washington Post reports that although thousands of students and teachers have become sick with the coronavirus since schools began opening last month, public health experts have found little evidence that the virus is spreading inside buildings. Moreover, the rates of infections are far below what is found in the surrounding communities. Experts told the Post this early evidence suggests that opening schools may not be as risky as many have feared. Brown University researchers yesterday released their first set of data from a new project tracking coronavirus cases in schools. It found low levels of infection among students and teachers. Tracking infections over a 2-week period beginning August 31st, it found that 0.23% of students had a confirmed or suspected case of the coronavirus. Among teachers, it was 0.49%. Some experts, including teachers' union officials, say it appears that coronavirus rates are lower in school districts where face coverings are required and police are enforced to keep distance between students in the building. Randy Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers, said the science worked in districts that took adequate precautions. So that's some good news.
And now for some quicker quickies.
Quicker Quickie.
The Senate Republicans' inquiry into Joe and Hunter Biden's activities in Ukraine wrapped up yesterday. It found no evidence of wrongdoing by the Democratic presidential nominee or his son. It also found no evidence that Hunter Biden's business in Ukraine caused any change in policy under the Obama administration. Oregon Democratic Senator Ron Wyden, the ranking member of the Finance Committee, called the Republican report a sham investigation that served to push Russian disinformation. Much ado about, more or less, not much. Trump administration officials are reportedly frustrated that Russia is mum about whether it will agree to an arms control deal in time for Trump to brag about it on the campaign trail. The 2010 New START treaty expires next February. Russia wants to extend it, and the White House wants to replace it with a new treaty that includes China. But Russia has been mum on a proposal U.S. negotiators released 2 weeks ago. I guess Trump isn't as friendly with Vladimir Putin as he seems to imagine. A new paper in the journal Nature says that even if the terms of the Paris Climate Agreement are met, which is a long shot, the unstoppable melting of Antarctica's ice will cause sea levels to rise by more than 8 feet. Anders Leverman, one of the paper's co-authors, told The Guardian that the more scientists learn about Antarctica, the more dire their predictions become. He said, quote, "We will be renowned in the future as the people who flooded New York City," unquote. That sounds pretty bad. After at least 3 boats were damaged by orcas, Spanish authorities have restricted small yachts from a stretch of water off the country's northwest coast, The Guardian reports. According to Bruno Diaz, a biologist at the local bottlenose dolphin research institute, the orcas that damaged the boats probably did not mistake them for prey. Rather, he said, they were just immature teenagers out having fun. Hey, sailors, leave those whales alone.
Quicker Quickie.
That's all for the AM Quickie. Join us this afternoon on the Majority Report.